A happy family was sitting at the dinner table when a knock at the door changed everything. The head of the house unlocked it, and an explosion tore him apart. Through the smoke, an assassin stepped inside and gunned down the rest of the family, one by one. Before leaving, the killer cut off the man's finger and sent it to a specific place, Attica State Prison in New York, where the underworld boss Lucchesi was locked up. When the package arrived, they ran a fingerprint check. It didn't match. The shooter had killed the wrong family. The real enemy was still out there, and now, after this mistake, he was more careful than ever. Mafia Don Lucchese and this runaway family had a feud that went back decades. Giovanni Manzoni and his wife Maggie had been moving like shadows for the last 10 years, just trying to stay alive. Their kids, Belle and Warren, were sick of packing up and leaving every 3 months. Even their dog, Malavita, carried a strange, rotten smell that drove everyone crazy. This time, FBI agent Stansfield set them up in Normandy. New house, new school, new names, everything lined up. But once night fell and the house went quiet, Giovanni slipped out to get rid of a body rotting in the trunk of his car. That smell wasn't the dog at all. It was the corpse. Clear sign that Giovanni had brought his old habits with him into the streets of Normandy. The next morning, the kids headed off to school, and Maggie went out to pick up things for the house. While cleaning, Giovanni found an old typewriter, and the idea hit him. Maybe it was time to write his autobiography. He felt like the world should know his story. Over at school, the first day didn't go as planned. A few local kids picked on Warren, thinking he was American, and tried to shake him down for dollars. Warren's fearless attitude just made things worse. They dragged him to a quiet corner and beat him up. Warren decided right there he'd get payback. But first, he needed to build a circle of friends. Meanwhile, his sister Belle was showing her family's mafia blood in her own way. When a student stole her pencil, Belle calmly tracked the thief down and hit back so hard the kid wouldn't dare steal again, or even look her way. The kids weren't the only ones with fire in them. Their mom was a step ahead. At the supermarket, some locals started trash-talking Maggie, thinking she was American. Maggie was actually from the Riviera, but their tone crossed a line. She kept her face calm. Quietly, she loosened a gas cylinder, grabbed her groceries, and walked out. Moments later, the place blew up. The shop owner had no idea how it happened. That evening, as soon as school let out, Warren kicked off his mission. He zeroed in on a kid and started talking him up, trying to turn him into a friend. Meanwhile, Belle had to head home alone. A couple of local punks spotted her and started tailing her, pretending they were just heading the same way. Belle ignored them. Then she took a wrong turn. Stuck, she had no choice but to get into their car. Instead of taking her home, they drove her out to a quiet picnic spot. Belle felt the danger right away and told them to take her back. One of the guys had bad intentions. That's when Belle flashed a cold smile, grabbed a badminton racket from the car, and beat him down until he was unrecognizable. She jacked their car, drove off, and ditched it near her house, leaving it abandoned on the street. Their first day in Normandy had been pretty fun, but that night at the dinner table, no one told Giovanni what had really happened. Right then, Agent Stansfield showed up. For Giovanni's safety, he'd planted 2 watchers in the house across the street, Chico and Mimo, to keep eyes on them 24/7. Stansfield warned Giovanni straight up, don't step outside and start any new trouble. He also asked about a shop owner who had vanished a week after a heated argument with Giovanni. The guy had tried to scam him with rotten donuts, stuff that could have made his family sick. It had been a small clash, nothing more. Giovanni said he had no idea where the man went. The truth was darker. Giovanni had killed him and buried the body. To keep his cover, Giovanni said he wanted to be a writer. Stansfield agreed. It was the perfect front, kept the neighbors calm and Giovanni busy inside. What he didn't realize was simple. A mafia man never really retires. 10 years ago, Giovanni's name alone ruled the mafia world. His rise made Don Lucchese nervous, like his throne was slipping. Lucchese set up a hit to take him out, but Giovanni survived. Burning for revenge, Giovanni cut a deal with the CIA and turned on him, sending Lucchese behind bars. Ever since, Lucchese has been running his war from inside prison, trying to wipe out Giovanni and his entire family. Within a week, Warren had solved a bunch of problems for other students at school and built himself a solid crew. With his team, he boxed in his old enemies and beat them down, settling scores once and for all. Around the same time, a senior student named Henry stepped in to teach math for a few days. Belle liked his calm, easygoing vibe. To get closer, she convinced him to give her private lessons. At home, things seemed fine for the Manzoni family, except the taps were running dirty brown water. When Giovanni called a plumber, the guy showed up 2 days late. He barely checked anything, everything and said the whole pipe system needed to be replaced. With no guarantee, the water would even get better because it could also be a main water supply issue. Then he got rude about it. Giovanni snapped, beat him so bad he broke his leg. He even drove him to the doctor and said the plumber fell down the stairs. The doctor just stared, wondering how a fall could cause 12 broken bones. On the other side, Don Lucchese's shooter had tracked down the donut seller's family. He was sure they might have a lead on Giovanni, but when they gave him nothing, he wiped out the whole family without much thought. Meanwhile, Maggie wasn't happy about Giovanni beating up the plumber. The reason was obvious. Now who was going to fix their water? Giovanni tried to calm her down, gently reassured her, and promised he'd talk to the mayor about it. The mood eased a little, and they shared an intimate moment on the couch. To blend in with the locals, Giovanni threw a barbecue party, and almost the whole town showed up. But once the guests arrived, the host was nowhere to be seen. Belle went to call him and found him lost in writing his autobiography. He was starting to realize something. All that running and hiding had cost his kids a normal childhood. Belle calmed him down, told him he was still a great dad, and everything he did was for the family. When Giovanni finally came downstairs and started the grill, some people began joking about how clueless he looked. Inside, he imagined putting every single one of them in their place. On the outside, he just smiled and played it cool. Well, the party did help him connect with a lot of locals. The next day, Giovanni met the mayor, but got zero help, so he figured he'd have to handle it himself. A turbine operator tipped him off. The brown water wasn't random. A local company's chemical fertilizer was polluting the supply. Meanwhile, Belle found out Henry had an important exam coming up in a week. If he passed, he'd leave for Paris for good. She didn't want to lose him, so that 1 week suddenly meant everything. On the other side, Warren messed up big time. He was supposed to write an English poem for the school newspaper, but had nothing ready by deadline. In a rush, he wrote lines he'd heard Don Lucchese say years ago. The poem got published and somehow reached Lucchese in prison. The surname printed was Blake, but those specific words gave it away. Lucchese knew instantly it had to be Giovanni's son. He wasted no time and signaled his most dangerous hitman to move. Meanwhile, Giovanni met Jacob, the boss of the chemical fertilizer company, and brought up the dirty water issue. Jacob brushed him off rudely, saying if he wanted clean water, he should just start buying bottled water. That insult didn't sit well with Giovanni. He kidnapped Jacob and roughed him up until he finally talked. Half conscious, Jacob admitted shutting down pump number 5 would fix the problem. Meanwhile, Henry's departure was getting close. Belle gathered her courage and went to see him. Caught up in her feelings, she gave herself fully to him. They got intimate behind the door, hoping he'd remember her even after leaving for Paris. Belle had already told her father about Henry, but when her phone rang late that night, Giovanni didn't like it. Turned out the call wasn't for Belle, it was for him. The caller was the same guy who'd mocked him at the party. He invited Giovanni to his film society, where they watched a movie every month and debated it. He wanted Giovanni there as the American writer. Giovanni was willing, but Stansfield initially shut it down for security reasons. After some back and forth, Stansfield agreed on one condition: he'd be there with Giovanni the whole time. Meanwhile, Warren's troublemaking had gotten so bad that the school logged 22 complaints against him. The teachers decided to kick him out. What they didn't know was his dad wasn't someone to mess with. Giovanni slipped past Chico and Mimo and headed straight for turbine number 5. He planted a timed bomb there and walked away quiet. Over in Paris, Henry had already taken his exam. Belle was serious about him and ready to move to Paris just to stay together. But Henry backed off, said he wasn't ready for a family and didn't have the money anyway. That hit Belle hard. She'd given him everything, and all she got back was empty excuses. Heartbroken, Belle decided to end her life. That same evening, Giovanni left for the film debate while Maggie was at church. Meanwhile, after getting expelled, Warren decided to run away. He didn't want trouble coming down on his family because of him. His sister stood by him like always. She just wanted him safe wherever he went. But the second Warren reached the train station, his heart sank. He recognized Don Lucchese's hitmen. He called home right away, but no one picked up. Truth was, Belle was desperate to talk to Henry one last time before ending everything. She smashed a girl's head, grabbed her phone, went up to the building roof, and called Henry. Said if he didn't agree to marry her, she was jumping. At that same time, half of Lucchese's crew stormed the police station, while the rest hit the fire station, wiping everyone out. They pulled Giovanni's address from police records and started heading straight for his house. Henry finally agreed to come back in a week and get engaged. Belle had just started to feel relieved when she noticed suspicious movement near the house and went alert. On the other side, Maggie was worried sick about the missing teens, and even the agents had no updates. Then, right at midnight, A massive blast shook the whole town. Giovanni's timed bomb had just gone off. Stansfield immediately called the police station, but nobody answered. No one was alive there. Suspicion briefly crossed his mind about Giovanni, but Giovanni was right there with him. After dropping him home, Stansfield rushed straight toward the station. Back at the house, Giovanni turned on the tap, and after a moment, the water finally ran clear. The problem was fixed. But danger was already at the door. Hitmen fired an RPG at the house, blowing it apart. Some neighbors got caught in the chaos, but Giovanni survived by inches. Agents Chico and Mimo returned fire but were cut down. Maggie got grabbed by the attackers, and just before things got ugly, Giovanni came from behind and took one of them out. On the other side, Belle knocked a shooter unconscious. Their car trunk was packed with weapons, so she grabbed a pistol and moved in quietly. Warren showed up too, and together they opened fire. A full shootout broke out. Warren dropped 2 of them and blasted another with a shotgun, but the recoil knocked him out cold. Before Belle could help him, another hitman aimed at her, pulled the trigger. Empty gun. She ran. The guy chased her but ended up getting killed in a car crash. The last attacker went down with Giovanni and Maggie working together. They made it through, but Normandy was no longer safe. That very night, they packed up and disappeared toward another safe place.